Greetings to you all from sunny Wales. Thank you for taking the time to listen in. I hope you're all keeping well over this lockdown period. And a big hello to Yasmin, who's listening in from California. Welcome to my presentation and to my home, Gwyndraith House here in West Wales. I'm going to discuss a distinctive photographic reportage and text project which was initiated during 2 trips to India in 2017-2018. The overall title of this book is Looking for Signs. It pictures a subjective interaction and dynamic pattern of the complexities of self, place, representation, and language of art. And next slide, Charlotte. So I will begin by providing some context. I'm an artist who works with a broad language of fine art photography, utilizing the range of its multi-platform and crossover possibilities. A substantial part of my artistic project is based on family home and garden. This project is a conversation between time and the overlap of generational memory within culture and history. Houses are commodities, homes are souls and dreaming environments. My immediate surroundings become triggers for ideas. For example, floral design wallpaper that you see directly behind me and pictured here on this slide is emblematic of my artistic research, which looks into notions of duality and the blurring of lines between the inside and the outside, physical reality and its representations, nature and culture, the conscious and unconscious. Whilst the subject matter here is rooted within the human scale of the local and the specific, the work attempts to communicate beyond its cultural boundaries through the international language of art. Next slide, Charlotte. As a starting point within colonial conversations, I would like to draw upon some archival material from a family home library here. These books were given to family members from local church as Sunday school gifts. Often written in the Welsh language, these books are about journeys and adventure into foreign lands for missionary and pilgrimage purposes. The social, politics and missionary activities of these non-conformist Welsh church ministers are often overlooked within the discourse of British colonial narratives, which in its own perverse way suggests hierarchies within British colonial discourse, where the messy complexities of the Welsh dimension to empire and colonial values are simplified or avoided. These Welsh language books are time capsules of a mindset from an imperial age, and reading them now, there is little self-reflection from the authors about imposing their own values on differing cultures and traditions. Whilst non-conformism is the traditional form of worship in these parts, I'm personally more interested in the commonality of faiths. And this was one of the reasons for my trip to India, not as to go as a tourist or even to make art in a new country, but as a pilgrim. Next slides. Thank you. A lack of self-awareness in relation to representation and understanding of different cultures is of course not confined to literature or pastimes. For Western eyes, taking photographs in India is very much like shooting fish in a barrel, really easy. Images such as these are typical representations of India, empty signifiers. Whilst they have the look of professional photographic professionalism, they are simply stock images about immediate appearance, lazy, stereotypical, and characterless. I suppose each country has its own equivalent of stock images, which are shorthand for each culture. Stock images of Wales would be castles, sheep, miners, choirs, hollowed out town centres, all of which I photographed, by the way. New slide, Charlotte. Thank you. I've never been to India before, and the purpose of my first trip was to accompany a friend and to simply chill out there. As this was my first, this was a self-financed trip, not having to justify project ideas, outcomes, audience reach, etc., to any cultural funding body, gave me a freedom for a project to evolve naturally without any preconceived notions. As an artist, I respond to visual stimulus. I'm drawn to folk art, and I gravitated towards these functional handwritten signs. Simple and direct, blue text on a white background. I like its form, and this influenced a series of text artwork which I did when I came back home to Wales. Next slides, please, Charlotte. Initially, I collected and wrote down a list of texts from signs that I came across and later reworked them in my home in the studio. Next slides. I particularly like the more abstract, open-ended texts, where this one, baggage, luggage, which suggests people bringing with them their own personal and psychological values, prejudices and expectations, which in turn are then projected on their surroundings. One of the aspects of colonial histories of both Wales and India is the dominance of the English language over native languages. Its enduring legacy being that English language is embedded as the legal language in both countries. Interestingly, it was a Welshman, William Jones, a judge in Bengal around the 1780s, who began to forge together India's modern legal system. He was a radical free thinker whose research into languages noted that Sanskrit, Celtic languages, and the Gothic European languages share the same linguistic roots. His theory of the evolution of languages helped to redraw the map away from the superiority of Eurocentric thought and created the modern term Indo-European. Next slides, please, Charlotte. One of the legacies of Indo-European culture are bookshops. In Pune, we came across a small bookshop, Sophia's Books, run by an amazing lady, Sophia. She started by renting a room stocked with 7 books. Her enterprise grew and it became a local hub, a meeting point for Eastern and Western ideas shared through the culture of books and creating a local community. Here I bought a book, I Am That, by Sri Nigasatra Maharaj, a spiritual classic. In the book, there's a quote about seeing the world as a passing show, that is, being non-attached to the drama and details of events and spaces, letting things flow as they are without personal ego getting in the way. This gave me an insight of how maybe I could make photographic images in India. New slides, please, Charlotte. This passing show event would literally be a passing show. Most of my photographs would be made during tuk-tuk and taxi journeys, simply photographing wherever that would be presented to me on any particular journey. In this chaotic and random way, I would let India reveal itself to me. These images move away from traditional social reportage into personal subjective areas of symbolism and abstraction. The camera is utilised as a bridge between both inner and outer worlds. New slides, please. These are existential images, exploring the borderline between reality and symbol, conscious and the unconscious. A recurring motif in these images are screens and blackness. The screens are metaphors for the play of images and illusions, and of the mind's projection upon the world of phenomena of things. New slides, please. This experience of India is made through the expressive frame of the camera. The snapshot camera is used as a means of fluid, creative note-taking of spaces and moments. The snapshot aesthetic allows the unconscious to find visual form through chance and serendipity. The images seemingly find themselves. New slides, please. India is vast and unknowable. The predominance of darkness in many of these images imply mystery of the unknown, the hidden, the mysterious, and of the spirit behind form. The darkness of these voids are not nihilistic, but are full of creative potential. I believe that this is a ritual stone, probably for the god Shiva, which indicates God in nature, the God spirit residing in inanimate rocks. From the formless darkness, the eyes of God looking out from all things. Next slide, please. These images of India are psychogeographic traces of disassociated and fragmented encounters where moments of personal being collides and entangles with the specificity and ecosystem of place. The randomness and chance photographs of travel are made in the mind as opposed through the camera. Next slide, please. This chapter in my book, Looking for Signs, this chapter deals with dualities of abstraction and representation. Here's a film still from the TV series The Life of Buddha on Netflix, if anybody is interested, where the young Prince Siddhartha is making art. He's making a landscape painting bathed in the beautiful light of the sunset, executed in the representational style. And his father asks him, painting? So this open-ended question, maybe the Buddha's father was questioning his son's choice of stereotypical subject matter and the painting tradition. Is representation of form and likeness enough? New slides, please. I like to think that the young Buddha meditated upon these traditional artistic aesthetics and came up with the groundbreaking modern ideas of formlessness and abstraction. These are deep spaces of intellectual and explorative forms of formlessness and abstraction. These deep spaces of intellectual explorations into notions of origins, of forms and images, and the imaging through personal creativity. Buddhist ideas of voids and negative spaces are points of meditation in the understanding of the nature of reality between the dualities of form and formlessness. Next slide. Entropy and the wearing forces upon the material world seem to be emphasized in India. These forces of dissolution are also at play within personal and cultural memory. Photographs keep alive remembrances, stories, and narratives. This image suggests the fertility of holding on to form with the play of life and memory is sucked into an empty void. And I'll finish there. I'd like to thank you all for your patience in my kind of presentation, and I hope that it makes sense. Thank you.